Yeah, hello. Yep. We can start. So basically, I think we can start with the introductions. So I will start with myself, and then the rest of the team can introduce themselves. I'm Rock. I'm part of the BD team. So I work with the core team to actually increase the market share of the Nethermind clients on the execution layer. I jump on a lot of calls with staking providers, and we try to increase that.
Hello, my name is Łukasz Rozmaj, and I'm Ethereum core developer working on my client for over 4 years now.
Hello, I'm Marek. I'm Ethereum core developer. My main focus is Ethereum hard forks.
Hi, I'm Kamil, working in Nethermind for around a year now. Mostly focused on quality assurance, user experience of the client, etc., and helping on hard forks and all of the stuff around Ethereum.
Hi everyone, my name is Damian. I'm also working in the core team as core developer and trying to make the Nethermind client working as fast as possible.
Hi, I'm Marcin Sobczak. I joined to Nethermind 2.5 years ago as an intern, and right now I'm Ethereum core developer. Right now my main focus is preparation to Cancun hard fork.
Right, so at one point we'll get to questions, but now we can tell you a little bit more about what we're working on, and maybe Łukasz can expand on that.
Yes, so we are working on Nethermind Ethereum client, right? Hopefully everyone knows what it is. So we are a competition, let's say, to Geth, to Aragon, to Ref, and Bezu. And what our main strengths are, we are focusing on validators. So in order to achieve the best experience for them, we have very fast sync. I would say our sync is fastest on the market. On good enough hardware and networking, you can get head validated in less than an hour. Our other strengths are, for example, extensibility. So we support not only Ethereum, but we support, for example, Gnosis chain. We will soon support OP stack. So bringing more client diversity there too. So, yeah.
Thanks for that. Anybody wants to add anything? Marek, maybe?
Okay, and we are also working on Ethereum hard forks, so we are preparing for Cancun, we implementing for 844, and all other EIPs that will be included in Cancun.
Yeah, so from additional points, so we are also working on increasing our stability. So we would like to be a most stable client among all of the other clients on the market. So this is one of our biggest goal instead of the performance and JSON RPC performance, which is also one of the main goals. And right now we are also going into the direction with improved database layout, which will reduce database size, improve memory management, will make everything way much faster than it is even currently. Yeah, that's basically the most important stuff. And about database, maybe Damian can tell a little bit more.
Yeah, I think that's a trend that is now occupying most of the execution layer clients, right? So the redesign of the state database to store the Patricia Merkle tree as efficient as possible in terms of improving read performance, which is kind of the step right now. The next steps going forward is, of course, the implementation of Merkle trees, which is also being progressed by our team, which is, we don't yet know exactly which hard fork is going to be, but we are working on this, which is another broad step in terms of providing zero knowledge and working through the proofs that will actually be a major difference to how Ethereum proofs work right now.
Yes, and we believe that client diversity in Ethereum ecosystem is extremely important, and we are trying to be as performant and as stable as it is possible to just make it easy for users to choose our client when running Ethereum nodes.
Okay, so we think that it would be nice to ask questions. So maybe my first question to you guys would be, anybody of you runs the Nethermind client or Ethereum node at all? Cool. What client do you use?
A little bit of everything I've tried.
Okay.
Like ETHWarsaw. I've tried a little bit of each client through ETHWarsaw because it's like pretty easy to just switch between the different clients.
Get.
Also, okay, sorry.
That's that's great. So Geth is a great team, and they build a great client. So we're actually not trying to compete. What we're just trying to do is make Ethereum healthy, right? And it's obviously risky to run the majority client. So we would like to help you guys switch to the Nethermind client, answer any of your questions if you have them, and then basically over Telegram or any other way you would like to communicate, we can help you and guide you through that. So maybe any of you have questions to our team. We'd love to answer them. That's fine if you don't have any. No problem. We can tell you a little bit more about what else we're building. So one of them of these things is Paprika, and Łukasz can elaborate on that.
Yes, so one of the things that Daniel already mentioned before is that we want to redo our state storage, right? State is huge. There's a huge problem to solve, and actually Geth is also trying to solve it right now, if anyone follows their tweets. So basically, what we want to achieve, and I think we will have a release called Nethermind 2.0 when we get there, hopefully this year, so very soon. Is that, firstly, the storage will be smaller. Secondly, there will be no need for pruning, right? The storage will not accumulate any garbage. So that's really crucial. We can say that, for example, Erigon already has that. We will have our spin on it. The difference is, with the thing that we are experimenting with, is that Erigon, Geth, Bezu, and everyone uses standard issues databases, right? Erigon uses MDBX, Geth uses something, I don't remember the name, but used...
RocksDB.
Huh?
RocksDB?
No, not RocksDB. It used LevelDB, Pebble. It uses Pebble now. Okay, because I switched recently, I forgot the name. We actually use RocksDB right now. But our idea was that using a standard purpose database isn't something that will cut it. Like, we cannot get to the metal with that. And we are building basically our own database engine. But it's not a general purpose one. It's very narrowly focused on the Ethereum data and how it is stored, how the layout is there. Yeah, we have a question?
How much reduction are you expecting, and will it be enough to run a archive node?
Okay, there are two questions there. Truth be told, the reduction, I'm not entirely sure yet, because it's still experimental, and Szymon, who is main champion of this, is expected to run this test in the next week or two to actually sync mainnet, or Gerli maybe first. That's the big milestone he wants to achieve, so we'll have numbers soon. We will tweet them, definitely. And the question was about archive. And actually archive, archive is a different beast of each other, of this. So we can think about the current state, the head state, and archive state. And archive state will be solved a little bit differently. But we hope we will do the archive too, and the expectation is there to be around what other clients achieved, so around 2 terabytes probably, plus or minus. I don't, again, have final numbers there. But the biggest thing is to have a state where we can also very well support reorgs up until 2 finalized blocks, especially. So, for example, if the network won't be finalizing, the state will grow for us, right? Because we might need to keep data from different forks. While if the network finalizes, we could flush that. And we could flush that then to the archive index, which will still allow us to fork, for example, to have very deep forks. Sorry, not forks, reorgs. But the method of the reorging will be a lot slower than the one that we want to do in Paprika. I actually have a question to the person who was saying that he runs all the nodes, I think. So can you give us any feedback? What do you think about the differences between the nodes?
Yeah, I would say that I personally like all the nodes because like more nodes, more client diversity. Yeah, that's kind of my view on it. Just more nodes, the better.
Okay, but is this something particular that stands out from, for example, Nethermind, or from other nodes that you're missing a feature or missing something there?
Yeah, I mean, there's a new client, like the Rust Ethereum client. So we're like Techo is also interested in trying out Nethermind and maybe Reth as well. Just they're also trying to optimize the storage component of the way the Merkle trees are stored.
Mm-hmm. So, for example, Ref focus at the moment is archive storage, right? That was.
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
Yes, yes. So I'm saying that it's archive storage. While we got through the merge, etc., from the focus of being very stable node for validators. That was our main focus, right? So with Paprika and with state storage redesign, we are trying to get to that other market, right? So, but we like focused on different things. So that's the difference, right? For example, between us and Ref.
Well, I run Nethermind validators, and I can guarantee you that they're very stable and smooth. I barely miss any attestations, so I do recommend it. And we can tell you a little bit more about some results that we had recently.
Yeah, so it's going to be really fresh, kind of off the press, because we are still working on it. But the kind of preliminary results give us about a 25% reduction in block processing time. But the most important part is that we are able to flatten the spikes of the block processing, which affect missing attestations, right, for solo stakers or generally for running validators, which is very good. The other good side is that we still that there is pretty much minimal impact on the sync times, right? Which as Łukasz mentioned before, is one of our main advantages, right? So it all looks good so far, but we still hope to make it even better going forward, right? And we will try to make a release until, well, by the end of this year, hopefully attracting more and more people to try Nethermind and see how it performs.
So I want to mention one thing that separates Nethermind. We have a team of 20 engineers now in the core team, and we are very supportive. So if anybody uses the Nethermind client, we ensure that we have somebody 24/7, basically looking at Discord and helping out on Telegram as well, supporting anybody that runs or wants to run Nethermind client. And I think the next subject we want to touch on is what we're getting ready in the next hard fork.
Yeah, so the main EIP will be 4844, of course, and this is about decreasing transaction, improving scalability for Ethereum by decreasing cost of inclusion data for L2s. What else we will have is 4788. This EIP is about including a parent block root to EVM. So staking pools can make proofs about things related to consensus clients. And we also will include a few EIPs connected to EVM, such as mcopy and transit storage opcodes. What else will be included is one small flag in Engine API, and this is about censorship resistance. So if your EL node will notice that, okay, there is probability that something is trying to censor transactions, EL can give hint to your CL client, and then CL client can use block built locally instead of block proposed by MEV Boost. Yeah.
Thanks for that. So maybe I'll come back with a question. I know we don't have too many of you guys here, but if you could give us some guidance. Okay, so first of all, you mentioned that you run Geth, right? What made you use Geth over any other client? And what could we do to actually, help you and other people to switch?
So the biggest issue was knowledge of the language, right? We have a bunch of engineers that know Golang, but that don't know C#. For us, we had to customize, right? We are forking Geth. So we would have to also fork Nethermind probably, or have plugins, which is difficult. Having said that, Geth is of course not perfect, and one of the things that don't work for us, for example, is having to run, so we run multiple nodes. We run something like 20 maybe, and after proof of stake, we have to drive both kinds of nodes, right? Both beacon and EL clients. And with Geth, the biggest hurdle is that it's very difficult to have more than one beacon connect to one Geth node, right? You are kind of stuck with this one-to-one correspondence, which is actually like pretty bad for us. Yeah. So maybe one thing that could be nice from Nethermind is if we could use Nethermind in the mix as a kind of like multiplexer node, where we can drive multiple beacons from either Geth or Nethermind kind of seamlessly.
Okay, very interesting topic. So first thing first, very good question. That in order to customize Geth, you need to fork it, right? And then you need to maintain the whole code base, which sucks. And one of the features I already mentioned in the beginning, but this is actually exactly the thing, Nethermind supports plugins. You don't have to fork Nethermind to customize it. You can customize it in your own small repo, only focusing on your small stuff. And then the next version of Nethermind comes, and then the next version of Nethermind comes, and then the next version of Nethermind comes. And the only thing you do, you put your DLL, your assembly in the plugins folder, and it should load, right? Of course, sometimes there are compatibility problems, but generally we don't do much breaking changes there, right? And we try to document it, but because it's so open, it's sometimes hard to predict everything. But generally, we have a good feedback from the people who are using it. So that's one thing where Nethermind is actually better for customizability, that you don't need to support everything. Second thing about multiple consensus clients to one execution client, right? There are multiple ways of doing it, and I was actually thinking about it at some point. So one of the way of doing it is that CL clients could send multiple, each CL client can send different new payloads, but only one can drive fork choice, right? That's a very simple one because you only have to track one head. There is a risk there of desyncing the CL clients, especially if they go to different forks, and depending on the storage model also you might not be able to properly validate every new payload then correctly. So there's a risk. The other way of doing that was to actually build a big block tree with every block from different payloads, potentially from different branches, because that's the problem, right? Different branches, and keeping tracking, for each CLs, and CLs would have to identify somehow. We can probably fairly easy do it by opening different port for different CL with a current engine API, right? And differentiate by that. So it is possible, and it was actually something I was thinking about, but we haven't actually explored it yet, like in code. And it would require some redesign. It would require some refactoring because the way the Nethermind is designed, we didn't design it this way. So there are some basic structures that would have to support that. So there's additional trickery there. On top of Engine API, which is already extremely tricky to get it right? So that's the thing. But it's an interesting use case. I agree.
So I think you also had a question.
Yeah, regarding MEV-Boost, how does Nethermind kind of integrate MEV-Boost? Because I think there used to be like a fork of Geth called MEV-Geth. So is there like a plugin with Nethermind, or how does that work?
Okay, so before the merge, we had MEV-Geth, but right now MEV-Geth is deprecated. Mateusz can confirm, because Mateusz is one of the author of MEV-Boost, and right now it doesn't matter. It's only you only need to run MEV-Boost. So you have to run consensus client, execution client, and if you want to get benefits from MEV, then you have to run MEV-Boost, and that's it. This is not the fork of Geth. This is totally separate tool. Yeah. That is the answer.
Yeah, so I guess my question is, like, I understand for the like consensus layer and the execution layer, there's like the JWT, I think, key that kind of like helps cross-communicate between those two clients, but how does like MEV-Boost communicate between?
So MEV-Boost is actually queried and communicates with CL, right? So you configure a MEV-Boost on CL, so that's there. Unless you're asking about potential block builders, right? Can Nethermind be used as a block builder client? And I think we do have an integration with a relay, right? So we can send our blocks to the relay, and we can include bundles in it, for example. There was something like that. But truth be told, this wasn't ever prioritized because of different reasons, and one of the reasons is the state redesign, because we cannot be competitive in performance without that. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend currently Nethermind as a block builder client in terms of like if you are competing for MEV and using that. So that's actually not the use case we are optimizing right now. So yeah, that's it.
Actually had a historical question. So I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Nethermind initially, like before the merge, they wanted to not have mining. Was it to kind of like focus on staking? Like, I'm just curious.
So we didn't have mining because, again, it wasn't, we didn't feel like we can get a foot in the door in the mining business, right? So miners were hyper-focused on getting their rewards, and I don't think they would switch to different clients in large batches. So we, especially when it was obvious that the merge will happen, we just didn't focus on that, right? It was another thing to implement. The team was quite small back then, so we will have to choose our battles. We actually did support block building, just not mining, just not the, I don't remember the name of the protocol for mining or whatever. So for example, on the XDAI chain, right now Gnosis chain, but at the time it was XDAI chain, we were block building at the time, so that's where we battle tested our code also there. So yeah, it was just integration with the mining protocol that was missing at the point.
I think that covers all the questions for now, at least. So maybe we could focus a little bit more about what we're excited about in the future, you know, where the Ethereum is going, what's the roadmap, and everybody can chime in and tell us a little bit more about their excitement and the plans.
Okay, so my main focus is always the next hard fork, so from my side it's Cancun and for ETHWarsaw.
Yeah, well, my main goal is to make the client as performant, as stable as possible. So for me, like, I can say only from the point of view of our client, the most important stuff for me is the database redesigns. So this is something I'm mostly focused on now.
Yeah, so as I mentioned in the very beginning, I'm looking very much to the vertical tree transition and the research that is happening around it and the way that we can actually migrate. It's not going to be very soon, but it's coming, right? It's on the pipeline, and it's going to happen eventually.
Yeah, in Cancun hard fork, Cancun hard fork will introduce blob transactions, and they will be larger than average transaction right now, and it requires different behavior from our transaction pool. Like generally in Ethereum, Ethereum is trying to reduce using network when sending these transactions by persisting them. And my focus right now is to adjust our transaction pool to persist these blob transactions and reduce network usage this way.
So I haven't mentioned vertical trees, and this is exciting update because you will be able to stake without having staked locally, and Nethermind is the first client that achieved it on vertical tree testnet. And my guess is that after Cancun, it is very possible that vertical tree will be the next main focus.
Yeah, actually, Tanishq, one of our developers, recently achieved that on Klaustin, I think that's the name, testnet. Yeah, something like that. I'm not good with the names as usual. So the idea is that because with the vertical tree you have the vertical proofs and vertical witnesses included with the block, so you can just run the node and you process blocks. First block you get, you just process. You don't have to sync anything, and this is already implemented in prototypes. It's not properly implemented, it's not production ready, but it's prototype in Nevermind, and it actually works, which is really, really cool.
Okay, so maybe another question to you guys. Is there anything that you're excited about and you look forward to when it comes to Ethereum roadmap?
AAP for 844. Do you guys have any comment on what you think it might be used for?
Oh, so actually the use case, right? So yeah, we can expand on that.
Yeah, so the thing is that L2s right now, when posting data to L1, they save data in Ethereum state and it stays forever. And because of that, the price of that transaction is quite high. And for 844, introduce temporary data storage. So thanks to that, we can decrease the price of this temporary data. And thanks to that, we will achieve better scalability for Ethereum. So that is the main use case, L2s.
Given that, will this data be available to smart contracts? If yes, shouldn't it be persisted?
So we have new opcode, which is called blob hash, and this will be the only way that, in this way, it will be available for smart contract.
Yeah, I think it's partially because of the polynomial commitments. So it's like that data will be there long enough for like rollups to execute that data, and then I think the like remainder of that data that gets like cut, there's like a piece of it that's left that you can verify with the polynomial commitment, but you can't do that with a Merkle tree. That's my understanding of it. But I actually had a question. So there's a website that I use to kind of track like upgrades for Ethereum, whenmerge.com. It says the ETA for the Cancun upgrade is Q4. So I'm just curious, like, does that seem like, based off of like where Nethermind is at and like through like all core devs, like maybe December or a little earlier? I'm just curious about like what blockers there are,
okay.
Like not for just Nethermind, but other clients as well through those calls.
So based on my experience, but this is not any official timeline, it could be done in early December, in my opinion, because it won't be done before big conference, DevConnect, in November, because people are traveling and so on. And I think we will be, not Nethermind, but generally as Ethereum, we won't be ready before DevConnect. So I guess it will move timeline for early December. And right now the status is that all clients or maybe a few have some issues, but generally clients are working, and right now it's a lot of testing needs to be done, but generally it works, right, on DevNets. So it requires more testing, but
I would say we are ironing out the last few things. So, for example, from Nethermind side, one last thing that is not yet ready yet is the special handling in transaction pool for 844 transactions. We are currently working on that and finishing that. Marcin is working on that. I think it should be ready in a week or two. And the other thing that is still uncertain for 788, the spec is being changed a bit about how to how to interact with the precompile, etc. So it's a detail, but there is some things there that needs to be checked. I think actually maybe maybe do hard fork at DevConnect. No, that would be awesome. You know, all the people there, all the big, crowd.
it will be exciting as long as you don't have to debug it.
Yeah, by the way, Nethermind team will be at the DevConnect, so if anybody would want to speak with our core team and everybody else, you're more than welcome to come up to us and speak with us. Huh? Okay, so next subject that we can touch on, so maybe I would just ask our team, what would they want to see in the following hard fork?
So I've already said vertical trees and maybe EOF. So in my opinion, it would be good if we work on something a bit easier, so EOF, and then make vertical trees more production ready. And yeah, that could be the plan.
So definitely vertical trees. So I was talking with main implementer of vertical trees, Guillaume, I think. I don't want to butcher his name, from Gev team. And I was giving him pretty harsh feedback about vertical trees in February. Yeah, late February. But from that time, like, all this feedback was taken into account, but not only from me, but also from other people. And the progress is huge. So I think vertical trees might be ready for the next big thing. So yeah, that's it for me.
Yeah, from perspective of our readiness and our current testings and what we are doing right now, the vertical trees looks like this is something which will be great to have. And EOF, as it is still being like moved into another hard forks, it would be great as well if it will finally land and end up the hard forks. And it's something which we are already quite advanced on, and it would be nice if it would be included soon.
Yeah, I would second that opinion. I think the next thing would be EOF and then vertical trees, right? Not the other way around.
Yes, I don't have different opinion at this thing. So probably the next is just the EOF.
I have a question. If you could, what would you remove from the spec? From the Ethereum spec, yeah. Because Ethereum spec is very complex, right, at this point. And we are talking about adding like vertical trees, which is another layer. And fortunately, we don't have, in protocol PBS yet. So maybe it's time to like start thinking about what to remove from the spec,
So what we could do in theory is removing all types of transactions, but then it might cause problems with hardware wallets that doesn't have support for new transaction types. But what else? I don't know, maybe Łukasz?
So maybe not actually removing from protocol, but one thing about removing something is I'm very eager for example, Portal network to come online, and so having a archive storage of Ethereum, so that actually the nodes could remove the data. So 4444 EAP. So we can drop old blocks, we can drop old receipts, we can be really, really light, not a complete light client, like having nothing, but having, you want to keep last 1,000 blocks, sure. You want to keep last 1,000,000 blocks, sure. Whatever your needs are, and we can have that in protocol. So actually, Nethermind kind of has it right now, but we don't want to advertise it because it might not be super healthy for the network. So, so don't use it, or use it at your own risk. Yeah, so that's it. So I would like us to just be able to cut requirements, and this would be cutting storage requirements a lot.
That's it. We have some more people that came in. Do you have any questions by any chance?
I would say that you want to go for other talk, but the speaker
I know, this is way better, isn't it?
Honest answer.
It was a talk about half, and I think so he went away.
Okay. Okay, no worries. I have actually a question. So if anyone runs a node, but it's not a Nethermind node, what can we do to change your mind? So.
The fact that you said that you provide 24-hour support is very tempting.
Yes, so you can always go to our Discord, and we have a support channel there, and there's always a developer member of the team there that can help you. So, well, by always, sometimes people sleep, but it's like almost, so it's supposed to be 24 hours, hopefully it is, but there is always a dedicated person that should be there.
Yeah, I would say like benchmarks, so being able to like see how Nethermind compares to other clients in terms of performance, and like what is like optimal.
So for benchmarks, like I said, SnapSync, the best in the business. Archive Sync, or for example, other things are worse. But this is the next thing we'll be addressing. So if that would be the game changer for you, wait for the next announcement for that.
Yeah, I have a question. What is the hardware requirement for full archive node? Storing data?
Could you ask about full node, please? Yeah, okay. So it's the same as Geth currently. So it is very big, and that is why we want to rework it, because Nethermind is not very optimal, to being honest, for archive. Yeah, and we are working on that, but it's about 14 terabytes nowadays. Yeah, so.
So, do you know what Patricia Melker tree is, how the state works, more or less? Okay, okay, so it works, let me still recap, but that will be recap. So you have this tree, right? And it's actually not one tree in Archive Node, it's multiple trees, right? Because with every new block you have different root, and some nodes change. Most stay the same, but some nodes change. And this accumulates, and you have a huge number of nodes that you keep. And that's why those nodes all weigh 14 terabytes. The upside is that you can go to every point in the past, right? So you can go to a block 1,000, 10,000, and you can read all the state at this time, right? You can just scan it. And Aragon and Ref currently use different approach. So they only have the current tree, so only the tree at the current head. But for the old blocks, they have two things. They have that at this block, value at this address or at this storage slot changed, right? So they have the previous value before that block if this changed. And they have a second thing, which is for each address and storage slot, they have this index in which blocks this was changed. So for example, you cannot ask Aragon, print me the whole state at block X. If it's in the past. No, you cannot do that. You can only ask in Aragon, give me the state of this address or this storage slot at block X. But you have to have it. It's actually sufficient for tracing, for example, or even for ETH call for most of the things. But you cannot, for example, generate a proof from the past. So that's the downside, right? Because the proof in the past would be a path in the Merkle tree, and they don't have the Merkle tree in the past. They only have the, let's say, flat storage. And we are moving to the same thing because this is the only really way of doing that. But that's the difference between the actual having full tree at that point in time or only having a delta as what changed at this point in time.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, next question, Marek. That's not fast enough. We'll discuss this later.
All right. So one thing that I really liked was when you mentioned about less spikes in block processing time, in particular probably around the epoch transition, right? This is like the huge problem. So if I could multiplex, my beacon cluster to Geth and Nethermind, and Nethermind didn't have the spikes, I think that would be a huge improvement. Because this is the biggest problem we see in like the cluster that we have, that there's huge spikes that Geth has, right?
Yeah. So to be honest, the only difference between us and Geth right now, in terms of like results of attestations, etc., are those spikes. So the rest looks quite similar or are around the same timings, but the spikes which are caused by pruning, by a lot of stuff which are being done concurrently at the same time are like breaking the block processing from time to time, not breaking, making it a little bit slower. And the change now will reduce that and will reduce amount of the features which will be running at the same time, so we'll have more consistent results.
So I would say that with fast enough disk, it's not a problem at all because I have my validator at home and I have perfect performance with Nethermind node. So yeah.
I can confirm. I said that before and I will say it again. It runs very smoothly. I don't really have to do anything. So some people claim that running a validator is a problematic thing. I can guarantee you I don't really do anything, right? So from time to time, obviously, I have to dust it out. But that's about it. So any other questions?
Yeah, I guess in terms of like ergonomics, if you're running a validator, what would you recommend people to do, like to use ETHDocker or to use DApp node or to run everything from like bare metal from the CLI?
Okay, I can answer.
Because like another component. I mean,
No, because I can speak from experience and being a noob as well, right? So it all depends where you start. So I started with DApp node, and that is extremely easy, right? Switching clients is extremely easy as well. So you don't really have to have experience. And when with time, I actually switched to a full node, right? Just running it bare. And I also run Rocket Pool. And that tool is also extremely simple. So all you have to do is really read the docs, follow the steps. You can go on YouTube, watch some tutorials. Everybody explains everything. Go on ETHStake community, get on our Discord as well, and we'll help out.
Yeah, and also worth mentioning that we have our tool in Nethermind, which is called Sedge. And this is something similar. You ask about ETHDocker, and this is basically almost the same. So yeah, you can check Sedge as well. And ETHDocker is a very good tool as well. I really recommend it for staking. It is super easy to configure. It has some extra options that you can, for example, prune Nethermind. In future, it won't be needed at all, but right now, it helps a lot. And also with ETHDocker, you can have Grafana for your node without any like extra configuration. You just click set up and everything is for you.
Okay, so happy to answer any other questions. If not, we can move to the final topic. Maybe a little bit. Oh, perfect.
My question is, one feature that I really like in Nethermind is ability to write your own add-ons that can be run alongside with Nethermind. Actually, I haven't tried it yet, but I will try to write my own model soon. And my question, do you have some interesting features that will be available for developers of these add-ons?
What do you mean by features? Can you be more specific?
For example, writing your own custom RPC request, for example.
Okay. Well, truth be told, no. I have a verbal skeleton on my personal GitHub of the plugin that you can write, so we can use that for a starting point, for example. Good question about developer documentation maybe or something like that. So actually, one of our colleagues, Oleg, generated ChatGPT go through our code. That actually might be not bad for querying it if you're interested in something specific. But in terms of JSON RPC, so a year ago, I made a workshop in Berlin about writing plugins in Nevermind, when maybe there should be a recording there from it was from DAPCon, where I showed how you can write plugin when you can add a JSON RPC and when you can actually add your own ETH subscribe. So we can actually pump data from the node to your client, right, to whatever you're connecting from. So yeah, so you can do that very easily. This is not like I was able to squeeze it in like a 40 minutes workshop, so with explaining everything. So it's pretty easy to do that.
Yeah, cool, thanks. Do you have documentation for database layout?
Okay, to some extent, but do you want to access database directly? Because if you're running a plugin, you have all the abstractions for the database. So for example, if you want to access receipts, you have a receipts finder, right, class. If you want to access blocks, you have block tree. If you want to go through state, there are ways of going through state, right? So I'm not entirely sure that writing a plugin, you need direct access to the database, right? That's probably a different thing because, for example, in Ref, you can also write external application that has access to database. But if you run Nethermind plugin, you have a direct access to our in-memory abstractions over the database. That's probably a better place for you to start than going directly through database.
Yeah, thanks.
Anybody has anything else to add about the questions? I'm not sure. Okay.
Okay, so what is the most budget way you can get rid of something like Alchemy and Infura just to get some past traces? Because I'm newbie into the running a node, and so do I have to have a full node to get like anything out of that, or I can just do it on, I mean archive node, or I can use full node and just wait longer to query some past data?
So if you're talking about traces, like trace module from the RPC, right? Or debug trace?
Yeah, I mean like having a transaction ID and running through what happened in that particular...
Yeah. So you can do two things. You need to either have an archive mode node, right? So again, until Nevermind reworks that, I wouldn't recommend Nevermind for archive node yet. Or we have a trace plugin that actually records some traces for you when the block happens that you can actually later easily access. It works similar how parity worked. But again, it depends on what do you actually need. So archive node is more flexible.
Okay. So like buying SSD with 16 terabytes of RAM, right?
Well, truth be told, if you really need an archive now, I would point you to the clients who specialize in archive right now,
Okay.
and that's the way it is. And I would also ask you to look out for our announcements, because again, I really hope we can deliver that this year.
Okay, cool, thanks.
Okay, so maybe one controversial topic or something exciting. How far are we from the light client? Anybody wants to take that? Nobody?
Well, Roch, I would say it depends what you need, what you mean about light client, because there are multiple functionalities, right? So, for example, with vertical trees that we already were talking about, we are quite close to having a node that verifies, that doesn't have to keep state. But if you don't keep state, on the other hand, you cannot do ETH call and you cannot do traces. So there are always, drawbacks, right? So it depends what that light client needs to do.
Okay, so I'm kind of thinking more of the video that I think everybody saw with Vitalik saying that he has his client has his node on the phone. So I'm not sure what's needed for that exactly. Can we have a client on our phone anytime soon?
Vitalik uses Nethermind right now.
That's yeah.
Just want to comment.
Just FYI, Ethereum master node is Nethermind.
Yeah.
Okay. If any other questions, any other topics that our team wants to talk about? I'm not sure. Okay, one sec.
I've glanced through the documentation, and under security, it is mentioned that do not use Nethermind wallet signers for mainnet ETH handling. Can you please ask for clarification?
Yeah, I can comment. So there is personal module in Nethermind client, and Geth has the same module, and basically it's deprecated. So this is about that we shouldn't use this personal module for other things than development and testing. That's all about. Not sure if, yeah, Łukasz confirms. Yeah, I think it is deprecated, but not removed. Correct, Mateusz? It's removed already. Okay. So,
In Geth, the code inside the node is still there, so you can hack it, but there is no way to access it from the API or from the CLI. You have to use Clef, which we learned the hard way. It was like an extra week and a half of development at some point because, the
So I think in Nevermind it's not available by default. You would have to explicitly reconfigure the RPC modules to access that. But it just a warning, not a recommendation that we don't use that for production keys for your, I don't know, your actual keys, right, that you use on the mainnet, because we are not a wallet and we don't want to be one, right? And that's pretty much it. And I think if Geth already removed that, then we should also remove it.
What one should use for key management with a Nethermind node?
So again, what do you mean by key management? If you mean managing your keys in terms of your accounts,
When I use Geth, I can create a private key there and use it somehow.
Could you repeat?
When I use Geth node, I can create a private key there and use my account somehow. Every version, it's, I guess, a little bit different.
Yes, and I would say it's not recommended neither in Nethermind or Geth to keep private key in the node of your account. You should sign in an external. You should sign your transactions in external applications like proper wallets.
Okay, you guys, you've just came in. Maybe you've missed some of the good fun, but if you have any questions, we're open to them. Not yet. Well, you have kind of like a last moment because we're going to wrap it up very soon. So if there's no questions or nobody wants to mention anything, well, thank you very much for coming. And please remember that Nethermind is always around 24/7, here to support. Just find us on Discord, on X. You can find me on any of the conferences. I'm always around, and I will connect you with the core team. I will support you through your journey with Nethermind. Thanks, everybody.